your social security number, your birthday, your address. China's military took all of it. In September 2017, Equifax, one of the 3 companies that controls the credit scores of nearly every American adult, announced that hackers had stolen the personal data of 147.9 million people. Social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, driver's license numbers, even 209,000 credit card numbers. It was the largest theft of sensitive personal information in history. And the worst part? Equifax knew about the vulnerability for months. They were told to patch it. They didn't. And for 78 days, hackers moved freely through their systems, querying 51 databases, while a broken security tool sat blind because someone forgot to renew a certificate. This is the story of how one company's negligence exposed half of America. Equifax is a company most Americans never chose to do business with. Yet it holds more personal data on you than almost any company in the world. Equifax is one of 3 major credit bureaus, alongside Experian and TransUnion, that track the financial lives of over 800 million people and 88 million businesses worldwide. Every time you apply for a credit card, take out a loan, rent an apartment, or even get a new cell phone plan, a credit bureau is involved. These companies collect your social security number, full legal name, date of birth, current and past addresses, employment history, and complete credit and debt history. They sell this data to lenders, employers, landlords, and insurers. You never signed up for this. You can't opt out. And in 2017, Equifax proved exactly why that model is dangerous. On March 7, 2017, the Apache Software Foundation disclosed a critical vulnerability in Apache Struts, a widely used web application framework. The vulnerability, CV 2017-5638, allowed an attacker to execute code remotely on any server running the unpatched software. All they needed was a specially crafted HTTP request. Apache released a patch the same day. The next morning, the Department of Homeland Security sent an alert to Equifax. On March 9th, Equifax's own security team emailed staff with instructions to install the patch within 48 hours. That was their policy for critical vulnerabilities. 48 hours. But there was a problem. Equifax ran an automated scan to find vulnerable systems, and the scan missed the most important one. The Automated Consumer Interview System, or ACIS, was Equifax's online dispute portal. Millions of consumers used it to challenge errors on their credit reports. It ran Apache Struts, and it was directly connected to Equifax's most sensitive databases. The scan didn't cover ACIS. Nobody manually checked, and the 48-hour deadline came and went. The server sat unpatched for 145 days. On May 13, 2017, the attackers struck. They sent a malicious request to the ACIS portal, exploiting the exact vulnerability that had been publicly known for over 2 months. They were in. They installed web shells, backdoor programs that gave them persistent access to the server. Then they started exploring. What they found was astonishing. Stored on internal systems, in plain text, were the usernames and passwords to other Equifax databases. No encryption, no password vault, just credentials sitting in configuration files, waiting to be found. Using those credentials, the attackers accessed 51 different databases over the next 78 days. They moved laterally through the network, hopping from system to system. They routed their traffic through 34 servers in 20 countries to disguise their origin. They split stolen data into small, encrypted chunks to avoid detection. And Equifax's security tools, the ones designed to catch exactly this kind of exfiltration, sat silent. Equifax had an intrusion detection system. It was designed to decrypt internal network traffic, analyze it for suspicious patterns, and flag potential data theft. It should have caught the attackers within days. But there was a problem no one had noticed. The system required a valid SSL/TLS certificate to decrypt traffic. That certificate had expired in January 2016, 10 months before the breach even began. Without a valid certificate, the monitoring tool couldn't inspect encrypted traffic. It was like a security camera with a lens cap on, technically running, but seeing nothing. For 10 months, encrypted traffic flowed freely through Equifax's network without any inspection. The attackers were sending stolen data through encrypted channels, and the one tool designed to catch them was blind. On July 29, 2017, someone finally renewed the certificate. The moment the monitoring tool came back online, it immediately flagged suspicious traffic from the ASIS server. On July 30th, Equifax took ASIS offline. The breach was over, but 147.9 million Americans had already been exposed. Equifax discovered the breach on July 29th. They didn't tell the public until September 7th, 40 days later. During that gap, 3 Equifax executives sold a combined $1.8 million in company stock. Chief Financial Officer John Gamble sold shares worth $946,000. President of U.S. Information Solutions Joseph Loughran sold $584,000. President of Workforce Solutions Rodolfo Plotter sold $250,000. Equifax claimed the executives didn't know about the breach when they traded, but the optics were devastating. Chief Information Officer Jun Ng was later charged and convicted of insider trading. He'd checked news articles about the 2015 Experian breach, researched the stock impact, and sold $950,000 in Equifax shares before the announcement. He was sentenced to 4 months in federal prison. On September 26th, CEO Richard Smith resigned. CIO David Webb and Chief Security Officer Susan Malden retired immediately. When Smith testified before Congress, he was asked how a company entrusted with the data of nearly every American adult could have failed so completely. His answer satisfied almost no one. For nearly 3 years, the FBI hunted the attackers. They traced the breach through 34 proxy servers across 20 countries, peeling back layers of digital camouflage. On February 10, 2020, Attorney General Bill Barr stood at a podium and announced the largest state-sponsored data theft in history. 4 members of China's People's Liberation Army had been charged: Wu Jiong, Wang Qian, Su Ku, and Lu Lei, all from the PLA's 54th Research Institute. The indictment laid out 9 counts including conspiracy, computer fraud, economic espionage, and wire fraud. Barr called it the largest theft of sensitive personal information by state-sponsored hackers ever recorded. But here's what surprised investigators. There was no evidence the data was sold on the dark web. No identity theft rings. No financial fraud traced back to the stolen records. The breach appeared to be pure espionage. 147 million social security numbers, birth dates, and addresses, all feeding into China's intelligence apparatus. Cross-referenced with data from the 2015 OPM breach, which exposed 22 million government employee records, it gave China an unprecedented database of American citizens. None of the 4 hackers have been arrested. All remain in China. In July 2019, the Federal Trade Commission, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and all 50 states reached a settlement with Equifax worth up to $700 million. $300 million went to a consumer compensation fund. $175 million went to the states. $100 million in fines went to the CFPB. Equifax was also required to spend at least $1 billion on data security improvements over 5 years. It was the largest data breach settlement in history. But for consumers, the reality was insulting. The FTC initially suggested affected Americans could claim $125 each. Over 4.5 million people filed claims. But the compensation fund couldn't cover that many claimants. The actual payout? Approximately $7 per person. $7 for having your social security number stolen by a foreign military because a corporation forgot to install a patch and let a security certificate expire. Equifax's stock, which dropped 35% in the week after disclosure, had fully recovered within 2 years. Today, Equifax still operates as one of America's 3 major credit bureaus, still collecting data on hundreds of millions of people who never asked them to. The Equifax breach exposed 8 critical security failures, and every single one was preventable. They failed to patch a known critical vulnerability for 145 days. Their automated vulnerability scan missed a key server. They stored database passwords in plain text. They let a security monitoring certificate expire for 10 months. They had no network segmentation. Once attackers got in, they could reach everything. They stored consumer data without encryption in some databases. There was no multi-factor authentication on critical systems. And one unpatched server was the single point of failure for the entire network. The breach led to free credit freezes becoming law nationwide. It sparked a conversation about whether consumers should be able to opt out of credit bureau data collection entirely. And it proved that companies entrusted with the most sensitive data in the world were sometimes the worst at protecting it. Every security professional who studied Equifax came to the same conclusion. This was not a sophisticated attack. It was a failure to do the basics. 147 million Americans had their most sensitive personal data stolen because one company couldn't be bothered to install a 2-month-old patch. And the penalty? $7 per person. If this story made you think twice about who has your data, hit that subscribe button. We break down the biggest hacks, scams, and digital crimes so you know what's really happening behind the screens. Drop a comment. Did you file a claim after the Equifax breach? How much did you actually get? We'll see you in the next one.